Hey, welcome everyone. Chris Petrie here. Thanks so much for coming by. I appreciate it. We're going to have some great fun. We're going to do some flowers, some tulips in a vase. Here, this scene's going to be real simple. You're going to enjoy it. We're going to show you how to do the techniques and the methods to get a beautiful, rich, vibrant color onto your flowers here. We're going to kind of show you also, too, an interesting idea of bringing a window into the picture to give it more depth. If you have a window behind your flowers, that's going to make it more exciting. You're going to feel like you can see through the scene out into the outdoors, let's say. Gives it much more of a feel of 3 dimensions. So it's really fantastic to add this window in, but if you want to leave it out, that's fine too. But I suggest definitely painting in this window. Let's get started with the our painting, and first we'll do our drawing, of course, our pencil drawing as always, and this painting too as well. This is on Fabriano Artistico paper, extra white, rough paper, Fabriano rough paper. It's Artistico, extra white, and I also use Fabriano student paper. So both are excellent. And any watercolor paper really works for this, but if you're using a little more of a higher quality watercolor paper, you'll get a better result with your paintings, that's for sure. So try it out. Maybe if you use really inexpensive paper most of the time, once in a while, buy some really good paper and see how it works. You'll notice it does definitely perform for you a lot better. So you'll strategically use your really good paper for, like, let's say, something you're going to frame, one of your paintings you're going to frame, or if you're going to maybe go into a show or something like that, or if you're going to put your paintings into exhibition and so forth. So keep that in mind. But here, a beautiful, again, simple painting, tulips, a nice clear glass vase, some shadows. We have a nice tablecloth with some blue stripes, and just a real simple composition really, and a nice window behind this to give it that 3-dimensional feel with some outdoors, beautiful yellows and greens, those fresh looking outdoor colors, grass and bushes and so forth. So let's have fun with this. Here again, the finished painting, you can work from this for your painting portion, and then you can work from the drawing, which we'll do in just a second. Pencil drawing, you can work from that as well. If you want to draw from our pencil drawing, you can do that too. You just hit pause and we'll get started. Okay, just in a second, we'll get started. Okay, so we just got back. We saw the finished painting. Beautiful flowers, a simple vase on a table. You can do this. It's a lot of fun. This is about a 5x7 paper that I'm using here. I have it taped off. So I'll just put a border around it here just quickly so we can kind of see it in our camera here. Five by 7 approximately. Could be about 4x6. Let me take a look. We'll get an exact here. Yeah, 5x7. About 5x6 actually. So 5x6 rectangle. And I'm just going to create this. I'll make this more on center. So this is more of a portrait style. We're painting just a single vase with some flowers, some tulips and a vase. We're going to keep this a vertical painting, so we have our portrait style orientation for our rectangle versus a landscape setup with our paper. So I'm going to, right here, I'll just do a quick light, the preliminary light sketch, just so I can kind of get things so I'm doing some shapes here with some leaves, and I want to try to get the the shapes of the tulips here, and now that I have a preliminary sketch of basically the essential drawing, really quickly, I just did this real lightly so I can kind of get a feel for the vase and the flowers within this rectangle. So if we can kind of see it as a if we can kind of see it as we have our rectangle, and we don't want to wind up with maybe a small vase like this with flowers like that. Like we want to fill up our rectangle with subject matter, with our vase and our flowers. So just a thing to remember when you first start out, when you're ready to start your drawing and painting, you do that preliminary sketch just so you kind of get a feel for the blocks of your subject matter and how they're going to wind up being in their finished look within your rectangle, within your painting, the frame of your painting here. So here we did that preliminary sketch, light sketch, just to make sure that our tulips are just about at the top of our rectangle here, and that our vase is large enough that it is at the bottom of the painting, maybe an inch or two up from the bottom of the rectangle, and that our subject matter is filling up our rectangle here, versus if we want to avoid maybe having too much of that negative space around the flower pot, let's say. So if we're doing a flower pot, let's make sure, and a vase, if we're doing a vase and flowers, let's make sure we make it large enough so that it's filling our whole paper, watercolor paper here. Just a thing to note as we start. So I did that preliminary light sketch first, and then what I'll do now is I'll go over it a second time. I'll just sharpen my pencil a little bit. And then we'll start again here. And here I'm just traveling through the picture with my contour drawing. I'm not worried about right there. Let's go with a couple flowers this way. Okay. Then I'll make the table back here. And then maybe we'll have some lines on the table. Maybe it's a tablecloth. So we'll put some lines on there. I'll do those a little lighter. I think I'll make them like a light blue color maybe, the tablecloth stripes. And that looks pretty good. And then maybe we'll have maybe a window here. So I'll just make the shape of a window, and maybe a small trim under there. So I'm just trying to make a window there and some trim on the sides. And that should be fine. We just take our time with our drawing, our contour drawing, and then I'm just putting in a window shape on the right hand side here. You can make it much more simple than that. You can make a more simple version of this painting if you like. You know, you don't have to be as much, you can do a more looser, freer looking rendition of this painting. I'm just and I think that looks good. So what we'll do now is we'll take a quick break. I'm going to put a little bit of paint in my palette here. I need some blue, it looks like, and a few more colors. Let me fill up my palette, and I'll come right back, and we'll start on the painting portion. We'll be right back in just a second. Okay, so now we're going to start painting. We did our preliminary sketch first, and then we did our contour drawing over that on top of here. And if you want to leave out a window, like here I drew in a window for some more added interest, but it would be just as good, or it would look just as great if we left out the window. You know, either way is fine. Usually I like to just maybe erase a little bit of the lines, a little bit here and there maybe, just a couple spots. And from this point, we'll just start to paint. I have a number 6 Raphael watercolor brush. It's a sable round brush, fresh clean water, and we're just going to go right in, and we'll start out with, I did forget one thing here. This is a clear glass vase, so I just wanted to add in a few of those stems of the flowers inside the clear glass vase. And we'll start painting here. Let's get in some colors. Cadmium red, alizarin crimson. We'll mix up a variety of reds here. There's some rose madder here. A little bit of that, and we'll kind of just start out here. I just take the very point of the brush and then point it toward the bottom of the flower. Start out with nice straight paint. Then I rinse off my brush, and I can either use a tissue to dry off some of the water or my apron, and get a little bit of a lighter tone and value there, and I'll get some sap green, raw umber, a little bit of cobalt blue, and I'll just try to get a few stems here. And maybe a splash or two just to loosen up a little. And you can always lift up a little bit of paint, add some more straight paint. go with maybe some cadmium lemon yellow and cadmium yellow. Maybe there's some raw umber here on the left side. To create a little bit of a shadow feel. And the same over here, we can use some of that cobalt blue. Maybe more of a shadow over there. And then some greens here and there. And we'll make some nice happy leaves forms here. And we always want to remember too, let's try to keep some light showing through the flowers and the stems. So we want to leave white paper throughout the center of the floral arrangement here. That gives it a nice sense of feeling like it's lattice, like you can see through it. It's like a light feel. Versus if we blocked everything in solid, it wouldn't look quite as good. So we'll just do and then sometimes I'll use my needlepoint brush to just get maybe a little better of a finer detail here. So this, like that. Cadmium lemon yellow. Maybe some cerulean blue and cadmium lemon yellow. Just to kind of get a variety of greens. We don't want to maybe do everything with one mix of green. Let's change our green colors. If you go over a spot, you can always lift up with a little bit of tissue. Here we have a little more of a bluish green, maybe a shadowy type of green here. So we'll put that there. And we'll go in again, we'll go with our alizarin crimson, cadmium red, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna, and rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of water. We don't want to flood this with a lot of water. This tends to be a very fine, like this type of painting, it depends a lot on fine work with your brush and the paints, and you're not going to want to have a lot of water on your brush, in your brush hairs. You're going to want to rinse your brush and then dry it off a little bit, and then you can go in and add color, straight tube color here really. That seems to work the best, and then we'll continue here, some more reds. These are mostly red tulips, so we're going to keep going here. Maybe we'll change this one to a more lighter red. You can leave some white paper too, and then as it dries really carefully with just a damp brush, you can bring over some color, very little. And let's go with another yellow flower here. And maybe we change up this. Change up that flower just a little bit, that tulip a little bit with some green. This one, straight cadmium lemon yellow. And then maybe another red tulip over here. You can make this roses if you wanted to. These flowers, you would just, change the shape of the flower a little bit, and you can do that too. You can try this flower arrangement and then use the same exact shape and design and just change these to like rose shape flowers, and you would have really a pretty painting too as well. And we will okay, then I'm just going to maybe get a little bit of tone in here. So I'm just using some of the mixes of colors, the same colors that were in the palette. A little bit of a shadow at the bottom of the vase where the base is, just to give it that little indication of the roundness of that shape, that oval shape. And then let's go right in. While we're doing that, let's tie this right in with the blue tablecloth stripe here. And then we can add that right in there. And what we can do here is change up the tonal values a little bit. So I added some French ultramarine blue here to make it a little darker under this portion of the vase. And then a couple splashes. You can add to it, maybe make a thinner stripe along the thicker stripe there, and that's just gives a little more an interesting look to it. Then I might go with some yellow ochre here. Some color on the wall. So this wall here has got some warm tones here, and we can just tie that in with that. So we'll take a break in just a second here. That tends to be a good time to take a break. A little more cooler shadow feel at the top of the vase here where the flowers are. Maybe we could add some Viridian green in there too. Okay, let's just do one more thing. Let's add a little purple, ultramarine violet. I'm going to add a little purple color just here and there. I want to use that for the shadowing colors, for the shadows of the flowers on the so if I just add a touch of a little bit of purple, but you have to let those flowers dry before you add your purple in. I'm doing it a little bit too soon. I should let this all dry, but I'm taking a gamble here and doing it now. But the best, if you're newer to watercolor, the best thing to do is let things dry completely, and then you can go in and add other colors and shadows and things. But as you have more experience, you'll kind of know when you can look at your watercolor and say, oh, I could add some more color in there and some washes and it won't affect it too much. But if you have any doubt, you can always wait. Just wait for 20 minutes or so, half an hour, and let the paint dry a little bit. You can use a blow dryer to quicken the process up a little bit. I think the drying process looks way better, much better if we let it dry naturally versus using a blow dryer. But if you're just doing it as a practice exercise, then it's fine. You can use the blow dryer. But if it's a finished painting, you would just want to let it dry naturally. So let's let this dry. And then once we do that, we'll start to work a little more on the wall and the window area and get in some more shadows on the tablecloth from the flowers over on this side over here a little bit. And I think we'll be all set. I think it'll look great. And come right back. And also, too, I want to remind you, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. This, subscribe button is right down below here on the right side of the screen, just under the video here. And you can actually, this way you'll be alerted each week when our new videos come out. So some weeks we're going to be doing flowers, paintings, or still life paintings. We might do the next week seascapes. Maybe the week after we're going to do some boats or a lighthouse. After that, we might do some landscape painting. So we do all kinds of different paintings here, everything watercolor. So don't miss out on anything. And if anything, if you do find that you don't want to really paint flowers, you can wait till next week when we do like a landscape or a boat painting and so forth. So always come back over and over, and that's what happens. If you hit the subscribe button, you'll just be automatically notified, and then you can know when we're creating a new video, and you can see if you want to work along with us here and create another painting. Okay, so we'll be right back. We're going to let this dry some. It's still a little bit damp, and we're going to let this dry quite a bit, and then we'll come back and continue working on it. But we're pretty much at the 3/4 of the way finished with this painting, so we definitely, we need to add quite a bit more details to it, but it's getting there. So come right back, don't go away, and we'll finish up here. Okay, so we're working right along here. Okay, let's grab our brushes. I got some fresh water in my water container now, and we're ready to start up here. I think I'm going to work in these windows over here. I'm going to put in some cadmium lemon yellow straight out of the tube with a damp brush. Maybe a little bit of olive green. Let's put some olive green in there. Again, you can decide. It's up to you. You're the artist. You decide. You might decide you want to leave the window out of this composition. That's fine. You can just do the flowers. You could always put maybe a small painting on the wall, like a small indication of a painting versus a window like this. It's totally up to you. Yellow ochre. So I'm trying to just make some of those outdoor colors, you know, yellow ochres, greens, cadmium yellow, sap green, olive green. And then maybe some more olive green with some viridian green. Okay, so we have our colors for the outdoors. So outside this window there might be some flowers, some bushes, some grass. So we just try to keep those green and yellow colors out there. Maybe it's springtime. I just infuse a little bit of color here and there. Wet into wet. Okay, so now we have the outdoor painted through the window, and then we can do some of our do some stems here. I'm going to use my needlepoint brush here again too. So we did some fine stems there. Maybe there's a few more. We can make a few fine details with our needlepoint brush here. Just a few. Okay, maybe we'll work in some shadows for the that'll be for the underside of the shelf here, the window the windowsill. That's the shadow under that. Another shadow under the and I'll just do a couple of shadowy tonal values here and there around where the windows are. Nothing dramatic, just some shadowing effects. Then I'll ultramarine violet. And I'm just going to put on the cloth here some purplish and grayish color and tone, just to give us that feel that we're looking at the shadows of the flowers here. Just a little bit of an indication. I wouldn't go too much with detail on this, just kind of put a few round flower type shapes at the top and then maybe a few stem shapes with our needlepoint brush like this, and you have it. You have that shadow feel coming from the window. And the vase, of course, is going to be in shadow, so you can add some purple to the for the vase itself. And I think that's good. And I'll splash a little bit. Maybe a little bit of yellow on the tablecloth here, just to warm it up a little. Very, very light, tiny light wash, just a little bit of that yellow to make that tablecloth seem a little bit warmer, and just gives it that little extra bit of warmth to it, and then leaving some white paper too. So I'm not covering all the white of the tablecloth with the tiny bit of cadmium lemon yellow. I'm just adding a few little spots here and there with it to sort of make it seem like it's picking up colors from the window and from the flowers, and maybe a little bit of red too we can put in there, just a little bit of those red colors from the tulips, the red tulips. You have red and yellow tulips. You can add a little red and yellow to the tablecloth just to we can add a little bit of maybe some purple, some red, just a little bit of color here. Just to make it a little more interesting. Some yellow ochre, some green, olive green. And then again, a super light wash on the white paper of a little bit of the warmer red color. And then I'll just blot up a little bit too. And that seems like a really pleasant painting of some flowers on a table, a really enjoyable scene. outdoors, the window, you know, kind of brings the outdoors into the room a little bit with some, you know, viewing out into the outdoors from this scene that we're looking at. So that it gives it a little bit of more interest. If we just left it with just a wall behind here, it wouldn't look as interesting. This kind of gives you almost like a secondary place you're kind of, your consciousness is thinking about as like the outdoors beyond the window. So that kind of has a nice feel to it, and it brings a little more light into the picture with some shadowing over here. And so I think that works really well. I'll just add a little bit of yellow ochre maybe to this shadow, just some warm and cool feel to the shadows. And you can do this. This is real simple. We take our time on these compositions. Again, we preliminary sketch things to make sure we have our subject matter like we talked about in the beginning, so that we have our subject matter filling our rectangle space. Then once we have that preliminary light sketch done, you can go over with a contour drawing, a second go at doing a pencil drawing over the preliminary sketch with your pencil. Or if you were happy with your preliminary sketch, you can leave it as is and then just start to paint. That's up to you. We're flexible here. With watercolors, you can kind of do things that make sense to you. So some of you might like to go over a second time with your contour drawing. Some of you might contour draw it right from the start and you'll work from that, so that's fine. And then again, we did the painting. We started the painting doing the flowers and the leaf forms. And sometimes, you know, you can add a little extra color into your painting if you want, like a second glazing maybe of some added color. It tends to look better when it's all in that one, painting it all at one time. Going over it a second time, it loses a little bit of its transparency, but sometimes it looks good too. You can add a little extra color, that's up to you. And then a little more shadows. You can maybe sometimes add a little bit of shadowing. Okay, so we will see how we can we'll remove the tape here. Okay, that's the finished painting. Hope you had fun with this. I'll show this at the beginning of the video also as well, so you can paint right from that, draw and paint right from that if you wish. If not, you can work along with me as we go through the video, doing the pencil drawing first and then doing the painting and getting everything done as we go through the video. All right, we'll see you on the next video. And again, hey, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You'll be alerted to all the new videos. We have new videos coming out every week, so everything watercolor here, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.